Hi guys, Dave Pinson here. Moving to the Philippines. Today I want to talk about driving in the Philippines. Okay? And once again, just a disclaimer. I'm not saying that everybody in the Philippines, this is not about everybody in the Philippines. This is about some of the people I've encountered on the highways and what I've experienced. Okay? So, yeah. So it's different here. Where do I start? There is no right of way. I could start there if you want. Let me just tell you my experiences. So, I've actually had, I've actually had experiences of. First, let me tell you my accident experience, and then let me tell you what I've learned, and hopefully this will all come. I don't. These are not pre-planned, so I always watch them before I publish them to make sure that it's not too crazy, because my brain's kind of cattywampus, as they say. So, the first accident I had in the Philippines. First of all, I never had an accident in the U.S. since I was a teenager, and I wasn't sober at the time. So I've never had an accident. I drove vehicles for years. I'm 69 years old. Moved here when I was 66, so I drove for 50 years in the U.S. A little longer actually, because I was actually driving before I got my license when I had my first job when I was 15 and a half. Anyway, so I moved here, and the first time that I had an accident was 100% just my fault, right? So we were staying at this place, this resort right over here on the beach, and I would always park in the same place, and we were there for a few days, because we were waiting for this house to be finished, and so I would always back up, and I would go, and I would back up, and I would go, and I would every day. So I got in this habit. Unfortunately, when you get in a habit, most accidents happen close to the home because you let your guard down, and you're like, oh, I'm going to be fine. So I had to move one day, so I wasn't in the same spot because someone was parked where I always parked the same spot. So when I backed up, I didn't look behind me, and I backed into a coconut tree. Luckily, the coconut tree wasn't damaged because in the Philippines, if you damage a coconut tree, you have to pay for it, and nothing fell on the car. So I got that fixed, right? And then always swivel your head, look around. And the second accident I got into, we're over here in Inglewood City, and we're driving, and all of a sudden it stops, and so people are always moving. So just so you know, the traffic here is always flowing. People are going. People don't pay attention to what you would think of as a traffic rule where you're from, probably if you're from the USA or Europe. So anyway, this guy stops in front of me, and so I'm going to go around him, right? And so I start to pull out, and in the U.S., I have this assumption after all my 50 years of driving that when people see you pull out and you have a signal on, that they will give you a leeway, but they didn't give me leeway. So I had two choices. Either I run into somebody, I think it was a motorcycle, or what I call tuk tuk, or bao bao. It's like a little three-wheeled thing. You seen the new Indiana Jones movie? They're going through the streets of Calcutta or whatever. That's what those are. Anyway, so I don't want to run into them, and they're not gonna make way for me because for some reason it seems like a lot of people in the Philippines, they don't know that cars are made out of steel. So I swerve into this truck, and I put a little dent in the back of the truck. Got that fixed later too. And then the third one is the worst one. So the third accident. And I never had an accident, and never. But the first one, the insurance paid for, by the way. So the insurance is good here. So the third one, and it didn't raise my rates or anything. So thumbs up to that. So the third one, I'm driving home from the city, Inglewood City, and the way it is here is that when people come at you, they don't give you enough room. So when people are passing you or people are coming at you, they don't give you as much room as you feel comfortable with, right? So I was in the habit of, if someone's coming, just kind of swerve over a little bit, right? Not realizing that people don't give you enough room. There was a motorcycle in my blind spot, so I bumped into the motorcycle. So I bumped into the motorcycle, and as the guy goes past me, he's like trying to keep it up, and we're looking at. So it's me and my wife and her mom. We're all hoping that, oh well, Lord, please help him be safe, or I hope he'll be safe, or whatever we were saying, because if he didn't, and then he falls down. And then we stop, we pull over, emergency flashers, we get out of the car. I'm like trying to help him. He's got a flap of his foot's hanging loose because he landed on his foot, and I'm trying to help him. And what a nice guy he was! Oh my gosh! Turns out he's related to Mama, and his name was Noel, and it was around Christmas time, and it turns out to be an amazing situation, but horrible, right? And I'm trying to help him, and I'm all upset, and he tells me to calm down, that I'll be okay, right? So what did I learn from that? Well, the policeman told me, don't ever swerve. So you have to keep your head on a swivel, And don't ever pull out of the way just because someone's in your way. You have to look first, because people here they don't respect a safe distance, right? So what are some of the issues in the Philippines? So when I first came here, I think the very first time, and I was in a taxi. They don't. I call them cabs all the time, but you have to call them taxis because they don't know that word cab here. They just call them taxi. So I was in a taxi, and I'm just watching the guy drive, and I'm amazed because the traffic's just going, and people are going, and they're kind of flowing, and there's a few lights in the city, but for the most part, people just go, and they just go, and there's supposed to be two lanes, but they make four lanes, and they're driving up, and and I asked the taxi driver who has a right of way, and he says the taxi always has a right of way, and that's a thinking of a lot of people that drive here. So what do you have to do? You have to keep your head on a swivel when you're driving here, right? You have to keep your head on a swivel, and you have to be careful coming around corners because you and I, hopefully, know that you don't pass on a corner if you can't see on a blind corner. But they will pass on the corners here, or they will just get in your way, like they will just come at you, like if they're on the wrong side of the street because they're passing, and they will just flash their lights, get out of my way. This happens all the time. So not everybody does this. I'm not saying everybody does this, but every time my wife has family about 3 hours from here, and we go there. I'd say every 2 months we go there once in a while. So it's a common trip for us to go over the mountain and go into Cagayan de Oro. And every time we do it, there's always one time where I have to stop the car, or else we're going to get hit, or I have to, there's always one time where someone is seeking death or something. So And so what's part of the problem about driving in the Philippines? First of all, it's not that big of a deal. I know it sounds horrible, but when you're driving, you figure it out. You know how to go with the flow. You have your head on a swivel. You're watching motorcycles on your right. You're watching everybody on your left. And ever since that accident, my wife has been super. She has PTSD. She's always thinking I'm going to hit another motorcycle. So she's always telling me who's there, and I try to be calm, and not get upset at her for always telling me, because some of the times it's really helpful. So you keep your head on a swivel. You're always watching, right? But what is one of the problems? A lot of problems is that when a lot of people don't have driver's license here, especially motorcycles. They can't afford to get a driver's license. They can't afford to get insurance. They can't even afford a mirror on their on their bike. So if you're going past a motorcycle honking a horn, let's just stop here. I'm getting ahead of myself. So a lot of people that do have driver's license, though, they don't know how to drive. They never took a class. They never passed a test because they have what they call fixers here. Now, once again, this gets into the thievery thing that I talked about before, and I'm not saying that everybody's crooked here, but I'm saying that it runs deep in the culture. Is all I'm saying, because they have people when you go to get your driver's license or you go to do something for your car, they have people called fixers, and these people, if you give them some cash, they will get you a driver's license. Did he pass the test? I don't know. Here's $50. Oh yeah, he passed the test, and they'll give you a driver's license, right? So a lot of people are driving here that don't know how to drive. It's rather obvious when you're driving they don't know how to drive. What's an example of this? And once again, not everyone. There are some really cautious, polite drivers here. It happens. But here's an example. When they go into a corner, they will speed up. Instead of slowing down and then speed, like you learn how to drive. I was lucky when I was a kid because we still had driver's training in high school. We actually had a trailer they used to bring to the high school and park it, and you sit in there. It had a simulator, and they would go through everything, and this is how you drive, and it's like a video. It's an old style, and then they'd put you out in the car, and you'd learn how to drive, right? They have a driving school here too, which is a good idea, but a lot of people don't do that. So a lot of people don't know how to drive. So you have to like look out for everyone. You just have to assume that people are not going to give. There's no such thing as right away. That's what I was trying to say. There's no such thing as right away here. I mean, there is, but no one follows it. And here's the problem. Like when I hit that guy on the motorcycle, if he'd have wanted to, he could have put me in jail because it's Napoleonic law here. You're guilty till proven innocent. And if you hit somebody, even if it's not your fault, the person you hit can have you put in jail for overnight, 24 hours. And there's nothing you can do about it. You can't get a lawyer. There's nothing you can do about it. You're going to jail. I thought I was going to go to jail for a minute. They said, honey, you go to jail. I go, well, I've never been to a Philippine jail. Try to take it in stride. Um, so, yeah, be careful when you're driving here. Keep your head on a swivel. When I pass fast. Why is that? Because I don't know what's coming, right? So, I mean, I can see what's coming and it looks good. But people here, here's another example. Here's another thing that a lot of people do here. Not everyone. So there's a highway out here, right? And every now and then someone gets hit on the highway. People get killed. People get hit because sometimes and adults do this, not just kids. They'll walk across the highway, but they don't run across that. Like where I'm from, people run across the highway. They don't want to get hit, right? Of course, people do travel faster there. But as they're walking across the highway, they'll walk real slow. You'll see this when you come here. They'll walk real slow. They'll make you slow down, actually, because you don't want to hit them. But they don't. They're not as careful about the highway as you would think we should be. I mean, there's chickens, there's highway chickens, there's chickens, the free range chickens running around the highways. There's dogs, there's all kinds of things. Now, me, I honk for the dogs. I haven't even seen any Filipino do that. But I honk for. I don't want to run over a dog, right? So I honk for the dogs, and they get out of the way. But they just are not as aware, and it almost seems to me. I know I was joking earlier, like they don't understand that cars are made out of steel because they just figure you'll get out of my way. They flash their lights. That means get out of my way, right? And for some reason now I found this to be. If you own a pickup truck, I apologize. I'm not trying to point you out, but I found this to be almost kind of the same attitude of pickup drivers in the U.S. They're very arrogant, and they always are in a hurry, and they will always take the right of way, right? So I will give them the right of way, right? Just one more anecdote here. When I was driving, we were driving to over the mountains, and I was trying to pass his truck. Now the guy had like four people in the back of his truck. That's another thing here. People don't follow seatbelt rules. You'll find all kinds of weird stuff going on. You'll find people driving on a motorcycle. It's called a what do they call Skylab, and they have like a big 4x4, a big piece of wood on the side, and they have like two people or maybe six people and a pig in the middle, and all kinds of weird stuff you're going to see, right? So anyway, I was trying to pass this pickup truck because he was going slower than me, and it's two lanes on each side, so I could pass. But every time I tried to pass him, he got in my way. He was really, I don't know, if pride or something, right? So I had to go really fast to pass him, and I was very upset. Like, what are you trying to do? Kill me? Because you don't. So just be careful of people's attitudes, right? And then there is a road rage. I haven't really seen it, but I've seen it on videos in Manila and whatnot. So some people experience road rage here, right? So just be careful when you're driving, and just keep your eyes peeled. Oh, one more thing. I have a U.S. driver's license. I haven't got my Filipino driver's license yet. Technically, it's only supposed to be good for like 90 days or something, but they don't care. Every time I've been pulled over, not pulled over, they have things set up on the road where they're checking because we have terrorists here. We have all kinds of weird stuff happening in the Philippines here and there. I mean, it's not that bad where I live. I feel perfectly safe, but every now and then you'll stop at a checkpoint and you'll show your license, right? So I always show my license. They're fine with it. It's a current license. As long as you have a current license, I've never heard of them asking somebody, how long have you been here? And it's not like that. So as long as you have a current license, you're fine. I plan on getting a Philippine license. So you have to have an alien certificate of registration card. As far as I know, this is the way I understand it as far as driver's license goes. If you have a driver's license from another country that's valid, and you go in to get a license from the Philippines, you don't need to take a test or anything. You just have to take an eye test. If you've already got a driver's license, you don't have to take the written test or the driving test. That's my understanding. So I'm going to get my ACR card back. I had to give it up. That's another story because I'm applying for a different visa. But when I get it back, the plans are to get a Filipino and a California driver's USA. Actually, I'm from California. Sorry, I didn't do it on purpose. But my plans are to have both, so that I have some kind of ID here that I can show. But you show your driver's license and you're fine. Sometimes they ask for your insurance, but it's very rare, like once a year, right? So they don't have police driving around. That's one thing. I'll close with this because this is long enough. 15 minutes, I guess, for these. So they don't have police driving around where I am. I guess they do in Davao because they have a speed limit. There's no speed limit here. There's a few towns, but there's no speed limit where I live. So they don't have police driving around looking for crime or enforcing the law. They only come when called, right? So that's another thing to think about. They're not driving around looking for you, and there's no speed limit. So you drive a safe speed and all that. So hope that was good, guys. God bless you guys. Ta ta for now.